Imagine, if you will, an invisible force so powerful that it could level entire cities in an instant. This is the might of nuclear power, a force of unimaginable energy that was discovered in the 20th century. With this discovery, humanity unlocked a door to a realm of possibilities: power generation, medical treatments, and sadly, weapons of mass destruction. Yet harnessing such power comes with a dangerous dance with potential catastrophe. Now join us as we journey through the 10 most hazardous nuclear experiments in history. Starting our countdown at number 10, we have the Green Run. This audacious experiment took place in the year of 1949, under the watchful eyes of the US government. The aim? To test detection equipment. The method? Releasing radioactive iodine and xenon into the very air we breathe. Just imagine, without a care, these elements were allowed to dance in the atmosphere, creating an invisible yet potentially lethal ballet. And the unsuspecting audience? The thousands of people living their everyday lives under this cloud of uncertainty. The health risks were, and still are, a topic of concern. Exposure to these radioactive elements could lead to a variety of health issues, from thyroid disease to cancer. The environmental impact, too, was significant, tainting the purity of the air and the serenity of the environment. The Green Run, an open-air experiment that risked the health of thousands. At number 9, we have the infamous Demon Core. This subcritical mass of plutonium got its devilish nickname after causing the death of 2 scientists in separate nuclear criticality accidents. The first incident happened in August 1945, when physicist Harry Daghlian was conducting a neutron reflection experiment. He accidentally dropped a tungsten carbide brick onto the core, causing a criticality accident. He died 25 days later from acute radiation poisoning. The second incident occurred less than a year later in May 1946. Physicist Louis Slotin was demonstrating a procedure known as tickling the dragon's tail, which involved bringing 2 halves of a neutron reflector close to the core. Unfortunately, the reflector slipped, causing another criticality accident. Slotin died 9 days later. Despite the tragedies, the Demon Core continued to be used in experiments until it was finally detonated in a nuclear test in 1946. The Demon Core, a deadly reminder of the unpredictability of nuclear power. Next on our list at number 8, we have the Bainbury test. This test was a part of a series of nuclear experiments conducted in the United States in the early 70s. The Bainbury test in particular was carried out underground in the Nevada test site on a cold December day in 1970. The plan was to contain the radioactive fallout within the subsurface layers of the Earth. However, things didn't go as expected. A fault in the soil caused a fissure to open up, releasing a monstrous plume of radioactive dust and gas into the atmosphere. This unexpected release exposed not only the workers present at the site, but also residents in nearby areas to harmful radiation. The event resulted in the contamination of a large area and underlined the inherent risks associated with nuclear experiments. The Bainbury incident was a stark reminder of the unpredictable nature of nuclear testing and its potential for widespread devastation. The Bainbury test, a chilling testament to the dangers of nuclear testing. Moving swiftly along at number 7 to 5, we have the tests conducted at the Pacific Proving Grounds. In the wake of World War II, the United States sought to further explore the power and potential of nuclear energy. Our focus now shifts to the tranquil turquoise waters and white sandy beaches of the Marshall Islands, a paradise in the Pacific, which from 1946 to 1958 became a nuclear testing ground for the United States. The series of tests conducted here were collectively known as the Pacific Proving Grounds. Over these 12 years, 67 nuclear tests were carried out, transforming the pristine islands into a hazardous hotbed of radioactive fallout. The most notorious of these tests was the Castle Bravo test, the most powerful nuclear device ever detonated by the United States. This 15-megaton behemoth, 1,000 times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima, left a crater more than a mile wide in the Bikini Atoll. The Castle Bravo test, however, had a far more sinister consequence. The blast yielded far more power than anticipated, and the fallout from the explosion contaminated a vast area, affecting the local population and even a Japanese fishing boat, the Lucky Dragon, that was over 100 miles away. The long-term impacts of these tests on the environment and the local population have been devastating. The islands are still littered with radioactive debris, and the local population has suffered from high rates of cancer and birth defects. The once vibrant coral reefs have been decimated, and many of the atolls remain uninhabitable to this day. These tests, carried out in the name of progress and power, highlight the recklessness and lack of foresight that characterized the early days of nuclear experimentation. The Pacific Proving Grounds stand as a stark reminder of the destructive potential of nuclear energy when mismanaged and mishandled. The Pacific Proving Grounds, a series of tests that left a lasting scar on our planet. At number 4, we delve into the Soviet Union's history with the Kyshtym disaster. In the autumn of 1957, the Mayak production facility, a key player in the Soviet Union's nuclear ambitions, was the epicenter of a catastrophic nuclear waste tank explosion. This wasn't a typical explosion, but rather a chemical explosion caused by the tank's cooling system failure. The result was a frightening release of up to 20 million curies of radioactivity. In the aftermath of the explosion, a radioactive cloud spread over an area of about 52,000 square kilometers, contaminating everything in its path. The event led to the evacuation of thousands of people from their homes, forever changing their lives. This disaster was kept a state secret for over 2 decades, only coming to light in the late 70s. The Kyshtym disaster serves as a stark example of the dangers of improper nuclear waste handling, illustrating the devastating human and environmental consequences that can occur when such powerful forces are mishandled. Coming in at number 3, we have the Windscale fire. In the heart of the United Kingdom, in the year 1957, a fire broke out at a nuclear reactor in Windscale, now known as Sellafield. This wasn't a simple blaze, it was a disaster that would go down in history as one of the most hazardous nuclear incidents ever. The fire, which raged for 3 days, led to a significant release of radioactive contamination into the environment. This wasn't a local issue. The radioactive fallout spread across the UK and parts of Europe, leaving an indelible mark on the landscape and the psyche of the people. The authorities fought tirelessly to bring the situation under control, but the damage was done. The repercussions were felt for years, and it served as a stark reminder of the inherent risks associated with nuclear power. The Windscale fire, a horrifying example of a nuclear accident. At number 2, a name that sends chills down our spines, the Chernobyl disaster. In the early morning hours of April 26, 1986, in what was then the Soviet Union, a critical systems test at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant went horrifically wrong. Reactor 4 exploded, releasing a cloud of radioactive material that drifted over much of Europe. In the immediate aftermath, 2 plant workers died on the day of the explosion, and 28 more succumbed to acute radiation sickness in the following weeks. The nearby town of Pripyat, home to nearly 50,000 people, was evacuated a day later. But the damage didn't stop there. The long-term effects have been devastating. The surrounding environment became saturated with radiation, leading to significant mutations in local wildlife. For humans, increased rates of cancer and other health complications have been documented. The Chernobyl disaster, a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of nuclear power gone awry. And at number 1, the most hazardous nuclear experiment in history, the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster. This disaster unfolded in March of 2011 when a devastating tsunami, triggered by a 9.0 magnitude earthquake, struck the east coast of Japan. The Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant found itself directly in the path of this force of nature. The tsunami overpowered the plant's seawall and knocked out power to cooling systems, leading to meltdowns in 3 of the plant's 6 reactors. The meltdowns caused a significant release of radioactive materials into the environment. Despite the immediate evacuation of residents within a 20-kilometer radius, the long-term effects of radiation exposure began to manifest in the years that followed. The disaster has left an indelible mark on Japan's people and its environment, with cleanup efforts still ongoing. The Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster, a tragic event that continues to impact lives and the environment to this day. These top 10 most hazardous nuclear experiments have left indelible marks on our history. From the Green Run to the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster, each event underscores the immense power and potential danger of nuclear energy. They serve as stark reminders of the need for stringent safety measures, meticulous planning, and utmost respect for this formidable force. As we continue to harness nuclear power, let's remember the lessons from these experiments and strive for a safer, more responsible atomic age. As we venture further into the atomic age, may we never forget the lessons these experiments have taught us.